All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks for being here. If this is your first time here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future podcast episodes. I'm Jonathan. This is my wife, Blakely. We've got a Q&A episode today. We're going to be talking about reverse dieting, avoiding making your arms too big, bulky, hashtag too many gains, training around elbow tendonitis, fiber, the importance of fiber and how to get more fiber, our favorite exercises like that we would do if we could only do them for the rest of our life, like what would we pick? And lastly, where are our favorite places we've ever visited? I'm assuming they mean in our Airstream. So before we get into those questions, sponsor of the day is Brock's pumpkin-shaped candy corn.
Gosh.
Man, I don't get excited about Halloween candy, really. I don't really like the aftertaste of chocolate candy, and I don't get excited about just having candy all the time like a lot of people do. But man, I look forward to those pumpkin-shaped candy corns. I don't really care so much for the regular triangular-shaped ones. They're so tiny, and the payoff isn't there. But man, I bought a bag of those pumpkin ones since they had them at the grocery store.
It's funny because I love candy corn, like real traditional candy corn, but I never knew this. And this is the first year you've ever been like, hey, I want to get those pumpkins. I was like, what? Who is this?
And get them, I did.
I never did.
I think 4 of them is a serving, and it's 120 calories for those 4 pieces. So there's definitely been days since I bought it that I've had 4. But I can see why eating candy is a tough thing.
Have you had more than 4?
In a day? No, not yet, but there's still quite a few in the bag. So, and Halloween's like today. If you're listening to this, the day it comes out. So I might have to just, eat them all to get it out of my system then get back on track after Halloween.
Sounds like a really good idea. I feel fantastic after that.
But yeah, so thanks for sponsoring the podcast. I don't know if you can buy those pumpkin-shaped ones year-round or not, but
Probably not.
I'm not going to be looking for them because that'd be dangerous. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you'll see that Blakely has been taking human growth hormone, and she is the same height as me. We got these new microphone stands, and they're a little obtrusive and large.
They're giant.
This is as low as they'll go. And
when I'm on my regular level, I feel like I'm below the microphone, so I'm standing on a 25 plate.
She's heightening. She's heightening over here. So that's that. Another little thing I wanted to mention was, I haven't even told you this yet, but I'm officially bulking.
I found this out last night too, because you're like, I'm trying to gain weight. I mean, we had dinner, and then he's just like, Cat's eating. And I was like, there is no way you're still hungry.
We had an episode a few episodes ago about gaining weight with minimal fat. And at this time of year, I like to purposely put some weight on. More flexibility with foods, more calories in can push my strength. Any little nagging injuries usually go away when I'm eating more and just focusing on training hard. Well, I'm the goal of this lean bulk, because I'm not going to try to pack on a bunch of weight, is I'm going to try to gain about a half a pound to a pound every month for the next few months, probably closer to the pound. I'm at 163-ish right now. So if I get 165, 166, wouldn't be too mad about 167. That's the goal.
By
the
January?
end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I like to push it into February because there's still plenty of time during the spring to drop back down into a deficit and lose any fat that I did gain. But yeah, so that's going to be going on. So look forward to me eating more, gaining some weight, and potentially snoring more.
We do have to go to the grocery store after this, so get ready to load that cart.
Right. And the disappointing thing is, when you take the smart approach to building muscle and packing on a little bit of weight, for me personally, I probably only have to eat an extra 300 calories per day to switch from maintenance to a surplus. So 300 calories doesn't go really far.
It's like a rice cake with some cottage cheese and some honey on it. It's not that exciting.
Yeah, if you're picturing the Rock's cheat meals, that's not happening. You can go that route, and I have in the past. But then I'm looking at a year-long journey to lose all the fat that I packed on. So you can go back and check out that episode. It was 3 or 4 episodes ago about building muscle without gaining fat. All right, you ready to get into these cues?
All right. First one. How long should I spend at maintenance before doing a reverse diet? You want to kind of go through what those terms are first?
Okay, so maintenance means you're just eating the same number of calories that has maintained your current body weight. That's your maintenance calories. So I think there might be a little bit of confusion about what a reverse diet is because of how this question was phrased. They asked, how long should I spend at maintenance before doing a reverse diet?
So what is a reverse diet?
So a reverse diet can mean 2 different things, really. And for most people, it means the period of time between going from a calorie deficit up to your maintenance calories.
Okay.
You've been in a fat loss phase, you've been eating less calories than you need. It's time to come back up to maintenance
and so
calories.
it's a process of like stair-stepping your way there instead of doing it all at once.
Right. Okay. So you don't need to spend any time at maintenance before you do a reverse diet, because if you're at maintenance and you've been in a deficit, you've already done the reverse diet part of it. That's what most people need to understand about it. Now, the period of time that you should spend between a deficit and maintenance depends on how drastic of a deficit you've been in and how long you've been in a deficit. If you've been getting like super lean for a bodybuilding show or something like that, which isn't really our listener, you need to get back up to maintenance calories as soon as possible, because there's probably a lot of things that have gone on with negative feedback in your body as far as your hormones, your sleep, your sex drive, like your recovery, your motivation to train, all that kind of stuff. Get back to maintenance as soon as possible. If you're somebody who's been in a deficit for, more conservative deficit for a longer period of time, you've lost 20, 30 pounds, I would recommend bringing your calories up to maintenance in a more slow fashion. It'll keep you from overeating, keep you from going into this mindset where you're like, I'm about to get after it because I've been on this diet.
Yeah.
So I would just creep your calories up slowly over the course of a month, probably 100 calories per week.
So based on this question though, what do you think they're trying to get to? So you said, how long should I spend at maintenance before doing a reverse diet? So what are they trying to get to right there?
What this person might be thinking about is getting into a surplus to build muscle, kind of like I'm doing. Like, you should probably not go from being in a deficit straight to being in a surplus, because that's kind of the recipe to rapidly gain fat. I would recommend staying at maintenance for a couple of months, letting your body stabilize at a new weight, let that become kind of your new set point before you go into a surplus. So if that's what you're asking, that's
a few months.
That's my advice. 2 months is enough.
Before you start to like try to go into a bulking phase instead of going right from a deficit to a bulking phase.
Right.
Kind of spend a few times at maintenance, a few months at maintenance, understand what your maintenance calories truly are, and then go from there.
Right. And it'll give you a chance to kind of like see what that looks like in actual food quantity throughout your life too.
Okay.
And then one more thing about this is some people think that they're stuck eating really, really low calories and they can't lose any more weight. Like, I've been dieting, I'm eating 1,200 calories or 1,000 calories per day, and I'm not losing any weight anymore. Maybe I need to do a reverse diet and then come back down into a deficit, meaning like I'm going to slowly start eating more and more and more, build my metabolism up to say 1,500 calories, 1,800 calories, and then go back into a deficit. In theory, that sounds like something that should work, but in practice, it doesn't really work that way. It's probably more likely, as hard as this sounds, that the 1,000 or 1,200 calories that you think you're eating is probably not actually true when you look at the course of the entire week. A lot of times we can do really good at maintaining low calories Monday through Thursday, and then we have higher calorie days Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the weekly average comes out more to what we think are where we think we need to go with the reverse diet. You're probably eating more like, several hundred calories more throughout the course of the week. So I would really dial in the entire week before thinking that you need to, spend 6 months or a year, quote, reverse dieting and then going back down into a deficit.
All right. Number 2, I like the way my arms look now, but I really don't want them to get any bigger. Any thoughts on how to adjust my training?
I could not identify with this person. All I want is for my arms to get bigger.
All right.
This was a female who asked this question. So do you have any thoughts on this before I ramble on a little bit? I know you have
a lot of thoughts.
I will acknowledge, I know women in general don't want to get bulky. And it's easy for coaches to be like, it's really hard to build muscle and get bulky. Like, it's not going to happen. Well, the truth is, some women are hyper responders.
They are, yeah.
And they build muscle more easily. It's just a fact of their genetics. So I get it. And as a coach, it's not up to us to decide what you should look like.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of this person for realizing that this is going on. The first thing I would say is, before you think about changing your training, is to look at your nutrition, because even if you're giving your body that stimulus to grow by lifting weights and using progressive overload, it's not really going to happen to the extent that you're going to see it on your body unless you're supporting it with the protein and the calories to make it happen. And that total calories, is really the thing that's going to drive you getting bigger than you want. If you're eating enough protein, you're providing your body the amino acids to build muscle. But if you're overshooting how many calories your body will need, you're really going to grow. So pay attention to more than just what's going on with what you see in the mirror. If your body weight is creeping up, you might want to look at bringing your total calories down just to limit the growth in general. That's why, everything we talk about with our clients in this podcast, there's always something to do with nutrition and something to do with training. So let's just say all right, I'm eating somewhere around my maintenance calories. My weight's not going up. Now we can talk about altering your actual training. My first recommendation would be to remove about half of your direct arm training. This is the single joint isolation stuff, any curl variation that you're doing. If your triceps feel like they're getting too big, things like push downs or overhead triceps extensions. Let's just pull the total volume, the number of sets by that down by 50%. But let's also keep the remaining sets that we do intense. Still go close to failure on the sets that you're doing. Just don't do so many sets. That's going to help you maintain the strength that you have without necessarily causing more hypertrophy. That'll put the kibosh on just continuing to get bigger.
As opposed to the maybe trying to go okay, I'm just going to go lighter and do a bunch of reps. That's not the method that we want to go with.
Totally.
For example, what you were describing is kind of what we're doing this week with our clients. Is most of them are on a deload week. So we're pulling down to 2 sets for a lot of exercises, keeping that same weight we've been using, keeping the intensity high. So that they're still working at that percentage close to failure. But so we're not just bombarding them with let's do 1,000 reps this week because it's deload.
That's funny. I think a lot of people's instinct would be to do that. I've been doing curls with 20-pound dumbbells. I'm going to go down to 8s and just burn myself out. No, that's definitely not the answer. And then I would keep exercises that are compound exercises that do affect your arms still in the equation. This is stuff like rows, pull-ups, bench presses, overhead presses. Those are your more strength-oriented exercises. I would keep that the same, and I would just limit the direct arm work that you're doing.
So curls, any variation of curls, any variation of tricep extensions.
Dips. And take pictures of yourself, take measurements, and see if that's working. And then you can always pull volume down or look even more closely at your nutrition if you're continuing to grow.
And you could also if you take some of the volume that you're taking out of your curls and move them maybe even to your back or something, add in some reverse flies or bench flies or things like that.
Or your glutes or your abs or whatever. Take that time to work on something else. I like it.
Awesome. All right. Another one about curls. Curls are aggravating my elbows, tennis elbow. Do you have any ideas for substitutions other than dumbbell curls? Yeah, this is probably a tendonitis situation flaring up, which you have a ton of
experience
with, unfortunately.
Both with having tennis elbow and rehabbing tennis elbow. So let's get into the nitty gritty. If you're watching this on YouTube, tennis elbow is the one that happens on the outside of your arm, just south of your elbow joint towards your hand. And golfer's elbow is the one that happens on the inside of your elbow at the same place, just kind of around more towards the middle.
Let me throw out a quick answer before you go through all of these things.
Okay.
Just because when people are, working around something like this, a lot of times one of the fixes, that's the first thing they can adjust, is their grip. A lot of people are gripping really hard on things like their dumbbells or barbells when they don't really need to be.
Yeah.
And so that can affect
the death grip.
Yeah, that can affect your elbow tremendously.
Yeah.
So think about that next time you're doing your exercises, how tightly are you gripping your equipment? And if especially if you're doing something like curls where the weight is kind of supported by your palm, allow yourself to just see what it feels like to release that grip just a little bit. And that often can help a lot.
Great advice. And just so you know, tendonitis is really these little micro tears that are happening in a tendon. Usually it happens close to where the tendon attaches to the bone. And so what we have to do to get this thing to stop hurting is allow the tendon to heal. So you'll heal those little micro tears. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of blood flow to tendons. So this is why it's so important not to continue to make it worse once you start to feel it. It's just going to be a longer road to recovery, and to just prioritize healing it, because it's going to take a while even if you do it the right way. So don't make it worse. in the process. Don't think you're going to like power through like mentally tendonitis. Like a sore muscle, yeah, you can probably push through that. Tendonitis, you're going to be sorry, and it's going to be an even longer road to come back. Okay, can you grab my blood flow restriction bands out of that cabinet over there, the blue ones? Okay, so yes, one of the things I've had really good success with is using blood flow restriction to work around and continue to do exercises with the joint that's affected by the tendonitis. What this band does is limit the amount of blood that's getting to that extremity only during the time that you're using the band, which makes a lightweight feel really heavy and can still help you do the things that cause muscle growth, mechanical tension on the muscle, damage to the muscle fibers. And so what it does is like slow down the process of all the metabolite buildup getting out of your muscle, so a lighter weight gets challenging really, really quickly. So in the instance of like tendonitis, it's elbow flexion that's bothering you. So you want to put the blood flow restriction band above the injury, closer to your heart, because we want the blood to stop coming to and from the heart. So you would tighten this band down up here in your armpit. And it needs to be tight enough to where you need to take it off between sets, but not so tight that your hand goes numb as soon as you put it on. And now if I were to do a set of curls with a 5-pound dumbbell, my elbow tendonitis wouldn't really feel much because that's not much load. But it would, after 5 or 10 reps, it would start to feel like I've got a 25-pound dumbbell in my hand. So that's a way that you can continue to train around the injury instead of just, quote, resting it. Because doing some form of motion brings blood flow to the area, which can cause healing. So it's kind of a double benefit of working the muscle and increasing blood flow, despite the fact it's called a blood flow restriction. I don't have any experience using these on any other part of my body except up here near my armpit for elbow tendonitis. So I know people use them around their thighs for leg exercises. I can't speak to that personally, so use at your own risk. Another thing I've had really good luck with is switching to using more bands for exercises when my elbow tendonitis is flared up. Not just like a TheraBand where you have to grip it as you're using it, but like a crossover symmetry or a band or a rubber band that has a handle on it, because you can actually put the handle through your palm, not actually have to flex your grip, which really can flare up your tendonitis. Keep your hand more open and still do a curl with your hand open. That can be successful, so give that a shot. You can still continue to train your arms with elbow tendonitis by using some variations of a row, especially if you get a handle attachment for a cable machine that keeps your palms face up. That can be more comfortable than a palms face down grip when you have elbow tendonitis. And then using straps when you're lifting to limit the amount of grip that you're having to use. I'm talking about like a leather or a nylon lifting strap, the one that kind of goes around your wrist. There's a fabric strap that comes through your hand that you wrap around the dumbbell or the barbell, and it allows you to just keep training.
Yeah, a lot of people think they're just, for using for barbells for like heavy deadlifts, but you can use them for like even curls and something on your dumbbells.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how loosely you can hold on to something when you're using one of those grips. We don't use them to like just lift more weight because our grip is weak. We can lift more weight when our grip is already strong, but it's a great training tool to continue to lift also. And then last but not least, I could go on with a lot of these things because I have so much experience with it, but try doing what's called drag curls, where instead of just keeping your elbows at your side and flexing and extending your elbow to do a curl, you'll be holding the weight, the dumbbells or barbells down in front of you like a regular curl. And then you actually want to pull your elbows up and back so the barbell or dumbbells will be like gliding up your shirt.
Dragging your shirt.
You're dragging it up your shirt. And this is just a more comfortable position for the elbow.
Yeah.
And, honestly, these give me a really good
Because really the
pump.
shoulder's moving back and the elbow's not bending, is not having to like do the load.
It changes the leverage on it.
Yeah.
So give those a shot. If you want a video demo of it, send us a message and we'll show you how it's done.
Awesome.
But anti-inflammatories are great too. You said adjust your training, but some Advil can go a long way too.
All right. Number 4, I listened to one of your podcasts about fiber and I am sold. What are your favorite high fiber foods?
That was an old podcast episode. They've been around a while. One of the main benefits of eating enough fiber is because you have these things that are made in your liver called bile acids. And that when you eat fiber in your diet, it binds to these bile acids and then gets excreted out of your body. Well, your body has to have these bile acids, and it makes new ones by recruiting cholesterol out of your body. So you automatically can lower your cholesterol just by eating more fiber.
So the Cheerios box is not lying to
I mean,
us.
so when you see these packages that say, help support healthy heart and lower cholesterol, this is the reason why. This is the mechanism behind
because
how that
it has
happens.
fiber in it is why they're
Right.
able to say that.
They don't ever mention like all the added sugar, but if it has any fiber, they'll put that on the label. So anyway, that's one of the main benefits. And that's one of the reasons that I focus on eating a lot of fiber too. I care less about all the digestive stuff, but for sure I want to keep my cholesterol in check because my doctor has told me you need to do that. Okay, so we recommend that most males get at least 35 or more grams of fiber per day, and for ladies 25 or grams more. There's really like a calorie calculation you can do, but that's a good rule of thumb. If you're getting close to that, you're killing it. Okay, moving on to the suggestions, and anybody that's been to our house will recognize a lot of these as being regulars in our daily diet. And I even threw some ones in that we don't personally eat, but are good sources of fiber too.
But I would say when you're hearing these foods, think about the amount that you have to eat. And so fiber is one of the things you really do have to try for each day.
Yeah.
You have to, like, for example, we make smoothies in the morning and we put raspberries in them. They are a good source of fiber, but we are not putting the amount of, I think raspberries are on the list. It says 8 grams per cup. We're not putting a cup of raspberries in our smoothie. So we can't check off like, oh, I got 8 grams just by putting a handful of raspberries in our, it takes like purposefully eating a lot of really whole foods. And
you're gonna
throughout your day, throughout your meals.
And I will tell you this, like having new people start on nutrition coaching, and they'll become very aware of how low fiber their diet is because they don't eat a lot of these kinds of foods. It's not in a lot of processed foods. Anything that comes in a bag or a box is going to be very low fiber in general. Some companies are now adding fiber, fortifying foods with fiber. This podcast would be too long if we talked about all the reasons why they're doing that. But anyway, yes, most people eat a really low fiber diet because they're not eating these kinds of foods. And you're totally right. You need to watch the quantity, and you need to watch for the trade-off that you're making in calories too. Because some of these foods that we're going to talk about, yes, they're high in fiber, but there comes a cost with the calories. So don't just blindly go in. If a food says this is high in fiber, well, make sure it's not 300 calories to get a few grams of fiber. It's kind of like eating a 15 gram of protein, quote, protein bar that has 250 calories on it. Make sure you're getting a good deal. And most of the ones on this list are. Yeah,
some of our favorites are from this list are the black beans, apples, raspberries, carrots, and we recently rediscovered because his mom had bought it, like, oh yeah, I forgot about nutritional yeast. That's something that you can like sprinkle on top of your like food, and it kind of has the flavor of Parmesan cheese, but it can give it the purpose is it's going to give you some fiber.
So you mentioned some of the things on the list. Like, which do you think? Like, what do you think is the best deal when it comes to getting fiber here? I would say the black beans.
I would say the black beans. Yeah.
15 grams of fiber per cup. We typically eat probably half a cup to 3/4 of a cup per serving when we have black beans, so that's a lot of fiber for the day towards your goal.
So we're probably maybe getting around 10 from those. If you eat an apple, you're getting close to 5.
Yeah.
And then, the little handful of raspberries, I would say maybe like 3 from the raspberries. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you really have to work for it. So for me, I'm trying to get at least 25 or more. I'm still not there yet. Just listening. I know I eat those 3 things at least in a day. So I'm still not there.
Some others that you didn't read were lentils. Those are another great. Those are actually pretty high in protein too. So if you're a vegetarian, try to throw a lot of lentils and black beans into your diet. Like you said, apples. Chia seeds are one that they have a decent amount of fat in them too, but they've got 10 grams of fiber for only 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. I don't like the texture of them when they get mixed with the liquid, but that's just a personal thing. Some people love them. Some people mix them into yogurt. Like you said, raspberries are great. Carrots. The nutritional yeast, it's great if you sprinkle it over a salad or something like that. Sometimes I'll sprinkle it onto a chicken taco as kind of a cheese substitute. It, like you said, it tastes kind of like Parmesan. It's also a pretty high protein food. I think 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast has 5 grams of fiber and 5 grams of protein. So that's a pretty good hack out there.
One thing that's not on the list I noticed is oatmeal.
Yeah, it's decent.
How much is that?
I think a half a cup serving of oatmeal has 3 to 5 grams of fiber. So that's decent.
It's decent, but not,
These are pretty much everything on this list except for the beans and stuff you don't even have to cook. You could just.
And then Jonathan does like the Mission Low Carb tortillas, the high fiber tortillas.
Yeah.
I don't like those.
She
I
doesn't
don't
like
think they taste good.
Those have between 8 and 15 grams of fiber, and that is an added fiber food. Those don't naturally have that fiber. They're pumping it in as a supplement, and they offset the calories that you see on the label because of the whole net carb thing too. But anyway, if you have a couple small breakfast tacos in the morning, that's an easy way to sneak in 20 grams of fiber. If you want any other fiber suggestions, just shoot us a message. We got a whole infographic that we made full of high fiber foods. Okay.
All right. Next
Numero
one.
cinco.
If you could only do 2 exercises for the rest of your life, what would they be?
You want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. Easily number 1 would be the low bar back squat. I just love it for overall strength development, maintenance, mental toughness. I love the feeling of being able to squat a heavy weight. If I don't squat heavy for a while, my knees start hurting. So that one's going to be in there. Okay. Full body strength, full body power, and there's huge hormonal carryover to making muscular gains in the rest of your body too. So big bang for your buck on that one. And then my second answer is cheating because it's a complex. It's 2 exercises mashed up into one. It would be the RDL/row or RDL plus row complex. So you could do this with dumbbells or a barbell, but essentially you do a deadlift, so you get the weight up to your hips, and then you do an RDL, and while you're still bent over, you do a row. So if it's dumbbells or barbell, you do a row, and then you come back up. It's amazing. Let's just say, for example, I can barbell row 225, for a set of 8 to 10. A set of 10 RDL rows at only 135 pounds lights me up because of all that time under tension in the RDL position. You're hitting your back, you're hitting your glutes, you're hitting your hamstrings, you're hitting your biceps, you're hitting your rear delts. It's a killer exercise. I think I'm going to do something as soon as we get off this podcast. Actually, my hamstrings are really sore from yesterday, so never mind. What about you?
I always think of these kind of questions as you have nothing. You're on a deserted island. I'm like, if I have this room full of equipment, I can only do 2 things. Why would I limit myself? Yeah. So I was picturing myself literally this time last year, we were up in Austin watching the Rogue Invitational, and it had turned from beautiful to rainy and cold. And I remember one particular day we were stuck in our camper. We didn't go because they basically had to move all the events into this inside hallway, and we stayed in our camper, and I was like, we can't get out, we can't move, I'm stuck in this camper, I'm trying to watch a fitness thing and I can't even exercise. So in that, I'm bringing back literally this time last year into that scenario. What did I do? I did some stepping on my little walking stair stepper. If I could only do a couple things, it would be some sort of stepping.
Wow.
What do I feel better when I do is just moving, stepping up or walking.
Yeah.
So stepping up or walking. And then in the middle of our camper, I did some burpees.
Wow.
Just to make myself feel, and those are the things that I will do to okay, I don't know. It just makes me feel, it's probably more of a mental, these are not things that are going to make me fitter if I could only do those 2 things for the rest of my life, but it's more mentally, I feel I've accomplished something if I got some movement in some way.
Yeah, I think people are really getting an insight into your psyche here. That for you, working out is largely about the feeling that you get out of it than
the result,
than just making gains and adding 2 pounds every single week. Here, step into my office. Let's analyze this.
You do have a psychology
Tell me about your childhood. All right, last one. Let's blast through this.
What is the favorite place that you visited?
I answered this one on Instagram yesterday, but I think, and recent memories what I'm going by here. I think I want to go back to, which means I really liked it, our time in Golden, Colorado. Yeah. That was probably my favorite recent place that we visited.
Nice.
The river, the hiking, the mountains.
We could walk to town, which I loved. Yeah. It was busy, though. It was busy. I wonder if it's always that busy.
Probably not in the off season, but we were there peak of summer. Yeah.
One of my favorite places that we continue to go back to is pretty much for the RV park that we stay in, but I really like Port Aransas, Texas, because I love the vibe of that RV park, and I like the beach vibe down there. Even though I'm not a super beachy person, I just like the laid back, super cute town, and
You also like that we go walk on the beach.
Yeah,
More back to the walking.
In the morning, we go take a really long walk down the beach,
Uh-huh.
and it's fascinating to just like look out at the waves and see all the boats and
Yeah. Y'all, this RV park that we go down to there is called an RV resort because it's got a pool.
And it's
and
a lot
gym.
of other places call themselves RV resorts, and they got no business saying resort in their name.
So this place, you buy your spot, and then you can lease. You could lease it out to like plebeians like us throughout the year, but you buy this thing. And I was on their website looking at reservations recently, and there's a lot of lots in there for sale.
Oh yeah.
This is literally a parking spot. It's nice. There's palm trees. You get a little cabana and a grill.
And they're decorated.
You add that stuff. They're nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, the owner of these things, they add all that stuff.
Yeah,
to
they've
make
decorated
them
them with grills and cabanas and whatever they want. Some of them, like one time, they put us in like this spot that was like you could have had a party for 15 people.
Yeah.
It had chairs and swings, and I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
this is just the two of us."
So you can rent this thing by the night, like we do,
Yeah.
for like $100 to $120 a day. But guess how much these things are to buy?
How much?
They're like $400,000 to $600,000 to buy this parking spot. Can you imagine going to a mortgage company?
But then you get to rent it.
I'd like to buy this parking space here. It's only $500,000, bank. Will you give me a loan for that?
It's on the beach. You get to rent it, so you can make money when you're not there.
Yeah.
And I mean, this place is usually packed. Like people come from Canada and Minnesota, and like they just camp out here for the winter. They're called like winter Texans. But it's hard to get a spot there in the off season because of them, and then it's hard to get a spot in the summer season because it's so busy. So I would assume that they rent them.
I think
regularly.
Probably all the people who
bought early,
who were doing good, they bought it when they were brand new. I think they were only like $40,000 or $50,000 when they were new. So some people have cleaned up on those things.
Anyway.
Okay, thanks for tuning into RV Talk this week. If you guys ever want to get a question in the queue for one of these episodes, just shoot us a message on Instagram. Appreciate you being here. Enjoy the rest of your day.